Welcome to On the Edge with April Mahoney Brains. Here, this is the spot where the conversation is pointed, the guests are sharp, and the responses are never dull. Welcome home, Brains. There's only one requirement to hang out on the edge, is that you open your big brain and close your small mind. Did you bring your thinking caps? It's time to put them on, because the conversation starts now. Schroeter, we're on the Edge Brains with a very accomplished author. My neighbor up north, up in San Marcos. I'm down in San Diego. We're going to talk to her about some shamanic practices. What does that look like? And what is that? People don't understand that. Is it a religion? Is it a discipline? Is it an energy? Is it a body manipulation, kind of like yoga? What is shamanic practices? I know that it comes from Native American history. Also, we're going to talk about writing because she's an accomplished writer. She's written not one, not two, but 3 books. We're going to feature all of those. Let's welcome her to the show. How are you, Vincentia?
I'm good. It's nice to be here with you, April.
You look beautiful, and I love your silver hair. I love that you're natural and you're free. It is just so heart wrenching to know that you have settled into who you are at a certain age. And I say that really with I'm excuse me, I am 62 years old and I'm living my best life. I'm living my best. I'm just comfortable. I'm unapologetic. I'm free. I decide what bothers me, what doesn't. I can be creative. Where are you at in your life right now?
That's a good question. And I just smile hearing you say that because uh, I think that's really important for each of us to embrace the age that we're at and be able to notice if our worlds get small or tight. And we're the only ones who can kind of expand our worlds and make our circles bigger to have more pleasure in life, whether that's seeking some work that's more meaningful or some relationships that are um, more strong and kind of give us what we need.
They put some meat on the bone
Put some meat on the bone.
because people just they're unhappy. And you know what? And I say this as an observer, they're happy because they want to be unhappy. You know, happiness is a choice.
Right.
Do you pick wheat bread or do you pick rye? And people just don't see the joy in it anymore. They're so combative. Um, Give us some techniques. No, first, let's have you explain what is shamanic and shamanic practices, and then how do we incorporate that in our lives to raise our frequency and bring us more joy.
I think when you say the word shamanic, it means different things to different people. And you said one of the things people think of is energy. And so I think of it's an energy kind of field. So, like my practice as a psychotherapist has been to do a somatic type of therapy, which means we're working with the body, we're working with energy, we're working to see where people defend themselves and how on a body level, and where we can kind of go to those places to help them kind of expand and have, like you were saying, more freedom to choose a happiness or more meaningful life. So I would say it's like being able to follow kind of an energetic movement in the individual. Notice that, be aware of it, own it. I'm feeling depressed today or I'm feeling anxious today. Own it. Don't shame yourself and go, gee, that's where I am. Name it. And then from the awareness and owning it, what do I need to do that will help me feel better? So,
Mm.
do I need to confront the person I'm angry at? Or do I need to go for a run and that'll burn off some energy and then I'll feel balanced and happier again? Then have more room for joy. So, what I like to say is, usually our joy is blocked by some feeling that we're having a struggle with.
Mhm,
So it's
mhm.
fear or anger or jealousy, some kind of frustration, hurt. Something's blocking that joy. And so it's our responsibility to own that, be aware of it, own it, and do something to help move that so then we can be back in happiness. I don't believe in, that people use this term spiritual bypassing, like hopping over a feeling. If it's really in my body,
Mhm.
it'll drag me down.
Right.
It'll find some other way. Like it might come out in illness, and then I'm shocked, like I didn't know. Oh, I guess there's something I'm supposed to pay attention to.
Mm.
So the body knows, the body feels, the body heals, the body, even if the thinking brain doesn't know, the body knows something. And if I'm really stressed and I internalize it all, it'll come out in some form. So being aware of it and taking that energetic feeling somewhere to move it through will then free me up to restore more space
It will,
for
but
joy.
you know
So
what
that's how I
also is
think about it, as energy on a body level.
also a contributing factor is the codependency
Yes.
of outside influences. I was talking to
Yeah.
my daughter, and she's in a little kerfuffle with a friend, and so she says, I'm gonna have to step back from that because she is really pressing me to burden and carry her anxiety, stress, feelings of unworthiness on my shoulders. And she says, I'm not going to do it. People don't establish good, clear boundaries. They allow other people, right, to penetrate, and there's a difference in being a friend and being an enabler.
Right.
You have to know where you are in this big picture. Where do you fit in? Where do you color in the white spaces? Or where you don't even want to be in that frame of reference anyway. When you work with your clients as a psychotherapist, you go deep, and
Yeah.
it's a lot of heavy lifting to help people peel back the layers to figure out what that core sensation is, that core problem, because it can be more than one thing, you know,
Yes.
and then where did that come from? I'm always fascinated by psychotherapists or uh, uh, spiritual leaders, um, energetic quantum physics workers, because you're taking on this frequency. Do you find yourself sometimes overwhelmed? And this is all transparency. Don't take off your work hat and put on your human hat. You're right. I mean, sometimes do you just find that this, like this is really a drain, or how am I going to block myself from receiving this negativity? You ever find that in your work?
It's really important because all therapists, have some that the last client was struggling and you couldn't help them move it through, or it kind of got into me or something. So we all have that. When you work on a somatic level, you actually use that. So I might say, I got hit right here with that person's pain, or my jaw got tight because this person was spinning in circles and nothing I did helped them move. So then you take it on and you feel it, like you're saying, and then you hold on to it and it can drag you down.
Mm,
So in my work, it's like if I can then go, gee, my jaw is tight. Well, okay, my jaw's tight. That's good because I'm needing to set a boundary from this person's energy, like you were saying, if it's too much. And but then I can go, I'm aware of that. This is a good reason why I'm tightening my jaw. This person's maybe being hostile or too distressed and not moving. Now my next thing is, okay, and then what? Can I loosen my jaw and will that help me give more room to come up with something different? Or after the session, do I then need to do some breathing and grounding and de-stressing? So again,
burn,
there has to be
burn
a,
some sage and some Palo Santo and take a cold dip in a pool. Really, we have to take care of ourselves, because if you don't take care of yourself, then you're no good to anybody else.
I think that's where that self-love comes in. All those examples you gave, whatever it is for that person. And you were talking about codependency. One of my favorite authors from back in the day, and she's still around, is Melody Beattie. She wrote Codependent No More. and a few other books on codependency, as I started my work in the addictions field. So I learned really early on, what's mine and what's not mine, what belongs to this person, what I can do and what I can't do when somebody's, in bondage to their addictions. So I started in that field. Malady Beatty was a very good resource, especially for folks who were spouses or family members of addicts. What should they do? How far should they go? And not, and so Codependent No More. It's just a wonderful book. So it's a resource, very simple, very clear. I think we do a lot of work about boundary setting because people want to be kind. The first chapter, no, we're not doing books yet.
No, go ahead, pull it out.
Oh, this book I wrote in 2018 called Communication Breakthrough: How Using Brain Science and Listening to Body Cues Can Transform Your Relationships.
Wow.
So I'm using both the brain and the nervous system as we understand it, and listening to the body. So the first chapter is around a little assessment. Do you tend to be more passive, more assertive, or more aggressive? And
Mm,
that helps out because sometimes people who are more passive are the most loving people, the most kind, the most warm, the most giving. And for them, that really feeds them. But also, they're often ones who don't quite grab onto, that's my limit. I've done enough. I need to back off. And so, if you know that about yourself, there's techniques in here about if I'm kind of passive and take it on, how can I become more assertive? And then aggressive people tend to walk over people to get what they want. Those people also need to learn how to back off and become more assertive. So,
that's one thing that I had to learn in a meditation that I keep referring back to about 3 or 4 weeks ago. Is it was so clear to me. I get words in my meditation and I have to write them down. I have to resonate with those for about a week to process them. And my word was surrender.
oh.
I was like, are you kidding me? I'm a Leo. I don't surrender. I go straight for the jugular.
Yeah, yeah, I gotta
But
fight.
but when I looked at certain situations, um, I was like, let it go.
Let it go.
Let it go. Gus, God, universe, spirits got this.
Yeah,
This is something that you need to be aware of, that, you need to process, but you don't need to control.
nice,
It's beyond your control. And if you
nice.
continue to try to control it, you're going to mess it up.
Yeah,
And
nice.
it was just like I felt free. Yes.
Mm.
Yes, I just felt free. And it was so easy.
Yeah,
It was so easy to just say, you know what? Okay. Not that I didn't care about it, but that
no,
I didn't have to actively engage it. I didn't have to work on it. I didn't have to prepare an attitude for it or prepare conversation or continuously let it run through my mind. I was having that issue with a certain situation. I wake up in the morning and the same situation would run through my mind. I'm sitting there having breakfast every day. And I'm saying, what is this going on? It was controlling me. It had taken up residency. And I had to give it an eviction notice. You got to get up
I
out
had
of
to
here.
give it an eviction notice. That's beautiful.
Yes, you got to get up out of here. So when your clients have this newfound realization and you've worked with them and you see the change and the joy, they also have to greet a new individual because now they have to live with this, they have to process it, and they have to know how to navigate it. When they get in that dark space again, how do I pull back on the joy? What do you say to a person that is on the other side of this? How do they maintain and continue to be level? What is that? Is that continuous work with therapy? Is it uh, continue with affirmations? What is it that keeps us in this positive state?
Well, you gave a great example because you said I went to meditation. So you were in a place where you were letting everything, just float through. And in that space, in that place, you made more space in your body, in your psyche, and from there was then room for the word surrender,
Mm,
which for you was let it
absolutely.
go, and then you led. Then you. So that is one thing, is that we all are like this all the time. There's no kind of even keel balance all the time. It's nice to have, but it's nice to not be so much like this, where we go way down and we're suffering and just can't even help ourselves. So I think the thing is to, be kind to yourself and have compassion about. I like to say, when I get something happens to me that's a similar distress thing, I say, oh, there it is again. And this is a little technique anybody can use. I actually, because we all tend to be self-critical, because of usually in our early times there were, somebody criticized us or hard on us. So I put my hand on my cheek and I say, oh, there it is again.
Hmm.
And when I do that, and if I look in the mirror, I usually become a little softer rather than my rigid perfectionistic, or I got to control it. So I go, oh, there it is again. Well, of course, it kind of triggered by this, or so. You start with kindness. And then once you have kindness toward yourself, then you go, okay, where's my little tool list or whatever works for you? Like you were saying, I know for me that if I go for a 15-minute walk in nature, take my dog for a walk or something, that's going to help me with this. So first I start with kindness and I say, there it is again. And then I go, what do I need? Do I need to reach out to another person? Do I need to, whatever it is, you start to know yourself and what works. So that's how I think it is. It's like, there's my trigger,
Okay.
that touched my core issue, or it doesn't matter what language you use.
That's
You get
cool.
caught in something, and we all have some things. And they will happen again. Like somebody asked me, if you go to therapy forever, does that mean you come out perfect? And I go, no, all it means, the best thing about therapy is it used to take you this long to kind of get it back together and feel happier. And maybe now it takes you this long.
Right.
That's all it is. We all have our life. We all have our history. We have our childhood adverse, things that happen. And it's like, if that triggers me, oh, I know what happens in my body. I know how my negative bias might go flying down a road and blaming or whatever I do. And then I go, oh, there it is again.
That's so sweet, and it's so compassion, and it's tender to yourself. You're loving
That's right.
yourself, and you're taking ownership.
That's right.
Brains, that's the key to success is
Yeah.
own your stuff.
Yeah.
You own it when you get a bonus on your check. You own it when you get a new diamond ring. You own it when you are praised and you get your flowers by others. You got to own your mess too.
Sometimes I've had clients who have so much trouble with that. And so if they're a parent, I'll say, think of your youngest child, or think of a child or something, and they're crying and they're in pain and they're kind of isolated. What would you do? You would come up. You would go face to face with them. Oh, honey, I'm so sorry.
Right. You grab their
And then you
face,
would be
let
there and be present. So some people have a little bit of a trouble making that leap to self-compassion. So I try to have them think of anybody. If they're an animal person, it might be their animal, but it's somebody. If you think of somebody else you love and they were in pain, what would you extend? Or there's a technique, and some adults are very critical, and we say, put the little child you were on the chair next to you, sitting on the ground there.
mm.
How would, if you were an adult and you were being good, how would you behave toward that child? So some people have a little struggle with this, but it helped me.
I think it's so sweet because you're loving yourself, and again, it's like, oh baby, what's wrong?
That's right.
Let mommy help you, let Nana help you.
That's right.
You got a boo boo, let me kiss it. So I love that.
That's right.
I'm gonna try that. So when I get into a strange place, oh, here we are again.
There it is.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
beautiful. That's beautiful.
Lovely.
So with all of this great work that you've done, um, tell us a little bit about your writings. You are the author of 3 books. Tell us a little bit about it, and you're also going to share an excerpt from one of your books.
I would love to do that. Okay. The first book I wrote, this is a manual. Oh, it's very heavy. It's got notes in it because it's used in a teaching program. So it's called Bend into Shape: Techniques for Bioenergetic Therapists. I co-wrote this with my colleague, Barbara Thompson, and it is full of drawings, most of which I did, and they're somatic techniques. So they use it in training programs. Bioenergetic analysis is a type of form of psychotherapy. It's based on psychoanalysis. So it ties in your past history and your current problem and how that manifests in your body. So some of us puff up and like to be in control and have power. And some people are really meek, but really kind. I'm exaggerating here, but we all have ways of both protecting ourselves and expressing ourselves in holding patterns that go back to really early. Like that was the safest way to navigate your growing up. So we work on tension patterns in the body along with the psyche. So it's mind body. So that's a techniques books that people have used, and it's been translated into Italian, Portuguese, Spanish, and it's used in international trainings. So that's that book.
It's huge.
And then I wanted to write a book for the public. And so this book, Communication Breakthrough, that we just talked about, how using brain science and listening to body cues can transform your relationship. I like to draw, so I always do little drawings in here too, because I'm a visual person, April.
I
So for me, that's how I learn better by seeing. Um, and then, so this book is practical skills on communication for almost every situation: work, relationships. We all already talked about assertive, aggressive, passive, and then it's got emergency kind of things. What do I do this? And I say to people, if you don't have time, just go to chapter 9, because it's got a thing on whole messages. Like you need to communicate somebody, but you're not sure what to say. And it's got, you tell them the facts, what you think, what you feel, and what you want, and he has little practice things. So this book I really like because I wanted to have something that people could use, because I see so
You know what?
many people in therapy suffering, even when they love each other like couples, but they just don't know how to say something. So
Right.
anyway, that's this book.
Well, another thing in communication, me and my daughter were talking about this, and I am going to heighten it. But she says, you know what I'm going to work on next year? And I said, next year? She said, I don't have time right now. I said, oh, okay. Um, I am going to work on being a more active listener. I'm going to really take the time to be quiet and hear what the other person says, because listening and hearing are two different skills. And hear what they say, give them a minute to process, give me a minute to process, and then respond.
Beautiful.
Because we want to interject, we want to get our point across, but you might have missed an apology, you might have missed the point of sincerity. It's like reading a text or an email. Somebody, you really don't always understand what the intention is behind that. You overthink it based upon your own emotions. So again, I'm pretty good at that, because I'm a trained orator. But I really want to slow down and really give people the opportunity to express themselves. And that is key in communication. Communication is a two-way dialogue. Sometimes it's three, sometimes it's a group. You know, I say it's an orgy of orators.
Orgy of orators. I really, and I, that's why I've seen some of your other podcasts and really enjoy them, because I see that you do that you're really a good listener, that are kind of following and add things, and there's a richness to it, that kind of
Thank you.
dialogue.
Appreciate
Yeah,
that.
there is a whole thing in here about active listening, exactly what you were
Yes.
talking about, and
Yes.
how you
And
can,
that is
you just
so
first put yourself in the receptive mode, and then you can paraphrase what people say, and I hear you saying this, and then that
And
really
that
opens
is
up the
key. I
space.
learned that when I was working in customer service. You paraphrase and you repeat what the person has said. That lets them know that you actually heard what they said. So, am I hearing this correctly? Or do I understand this? Did I misunderstand? This gives you also an additional bandwidth. It gives you more space to come to a negotiation. And then when you do that, you're not, okay, well, wait, just let me say what I'm going to say. When you do that, then the other person is, it takes them down a level.
That's right.
My boss, I would do that with her all the time. You're absolutely right. She'd be wrong, or I'd be wrong. Right. You're
But
absolutely right.
you're just trying to keep the field open, because once we both tighten into you're wrong, we really are not in the listening mode. We're already, we can't think very well, and so we're not receptive. So
But it's a
just creating
negotiation
space.
skill and it's also a strategy. If you want some, you're arguing with your husband and he's, mad about them shoes that you bought, dear, you're absolutely right. And I'll work on that. I'll work on that. I won't buy 3 pair anymore. I'll buy
I
only.
won't. Darn it. I have to go tell my husband, April said I have to take the shoes back. Just kidding.
But then you don't have to hide them because that's another situation. It's the hiding, it's the shame associated with it. So
Yeah.
you really didn't enjoy you can't enjoy the shoes because now, when are you going to wear them? When are you going to pull them out? I've got people that send boxes of Amazon or to somebody else's house. That's
Not
not,
too much.
yeah, you
Yeah,
don't.
that's funny.
So tell us about your third book.
Third book. So during COVID, it was a lonely time and people weren't meeting, everything was online. And I'd been working on a memoir, which, by the way, that'll be my fourth book, and I just finished it, and it's with the publisher now. But in the meantime, because that was like working on that for 6 years, I wanted to get something else out. So I took some of my blog posts and I took some of my favorite ones during the COVID year, and I put them in this little book. And then I did it's called Tilt: Seeking Balance in Troubled Times. And I would do like a drawing, a chalk drawing on each one.
You are such the artist.
Well, I love art and I love writing. Um, so I did that. Anyway, they're just little blog posts that creative writing, and some of them have little observations. Yeah.
Share one with
So,
us.
okay. This one is called Don't Give Up. When you asked me to share a reading, I decided to choose this one. It's a drawing I did for it.
Hmm.
So it's just black paper, white chalk. The nice thing about white chalk on black paper or any color chalk is you can't erase it and do it over. It's chalk. So it's like being a kid outside. So it's fun for me because that means I have to just do it quickly and stay loose because my art can be a little too tight. Anyway, this is called, are we ready for this reading?
We're ready.
Don't Give Up. It was written November 30th, 2020. It was the final week of month 9 of the pandemic. In the last week of November, we had Thanksgiving dinner in our backyard with places set 6 feet apart for our 3 guests. My sister, who lives in the desert, wanted to walk on the beach the next day. Our experience reminded me that even though we have all felt wounded by this very challenging year, it's essential to do what we can to keep going. As I walked on the beach with my sister, I turned to stop and face the ultramarine water burst into white foam waves. Even though this is not in that story, this is just a painting I did a few weeks ago.
Oh, that's beautiful.
The first time I ever did that, little waves, watercolor coming on the beach.
I tried watercolors and that's definitely a skill.
It's definitely a skill. As the waves receded, the hard ground beneath my feet softened and my feet molded into the spongy texture. Then I heard a yelp. I looked to my right. My sister and I saw 2 off-leash small dogs. One of the dogs attacked a seagull and seemed to be pulling at its wing. A man and a woman yelled and pulled their dog off the bird, leashed their dogs, and left the beach. The woman turned back to look at the gull, and then her head shrunk into her shoulders and she slouched away as fast as she could. We watched the bird and worried about his plight. Would he be okay? He sat on the shore looking stunned. I noticed 11 other gulls at a respectful distance, staring at him and not moving. They seemed to be waiting. The injured gull made a tentative step, then walked in a circle, but one wing was much lower and spread out and down. Was his shoulder broken? The gull walked into the ocean and swam around slowly. His mates all turned and watched him. A lifeguard truck came by and I went up to meet it. Seeing me coming, the lifeguard donned his face mask and rolled down his window so I could talk to him. A dog attacked a seagull. Well, we have an animal control unit, but they don't work during the pandemic. Why are the other birds staring? I asked. Well, they stay in a flock. They hunt together by day and they nest together at night. I asked, so they're watching over him? Yes. My sister and I cheered on the injured bird. He swam around, then tried to fly and failed once or twice as his wings did not synchronize. He stopped. The birds stared. We stared. I hoped that he was resting rather than giving up. After 5 minutes, he came ashore, all birds' eyes on him. He got a running start and he took to the sky. He flew above and behind us. His wings were working. My sister and I yelled, woohoo! As we turned toward the hills to follow the circling bird, I saw a woman in an orange sweatshirt yell, hooray, you go, Gull! I felt so happy and relieved. I exhaled, turned back to my sister and smiled. She stood tall, lifted her chin, and solemnly quoted this Langston Hughes poem to me. Hold fast to dreams, for if dreams die, life is a broken-winged bird that cannot fly. Hold fast to dreams, for if dreams go, life is a barren field frozen with snow.
That is such a beautiful metaphor and analogy, but also a real life experience because we all are damaged
That's right.
at one point or another. And we
That's
need the support of others to rally around us and be receptive to that. Everybody's not going to be in your inner circle. But if you feel a sincerity and you can feel other people's intention around you, embrace that. I know people that have self harm thoughts. They feel that they're so alone that they can't reach out. Take a few deep breaths. Let people circle around you, gather their energy, their strength. And so this was perfect. That's beautiful. That is really beautiful. So that is what Tilt is about. You have these images as well as these blog posts, but also metaphors and stories that help really define what those moments are and what the possibility of what they could be. Called hope, brains.
right.
It's called hope. That's all that we have. And then
That's
there's
all.
joy on the other side. Let's ask you some fun questions.
Sure.
If you were an animal, of all things, what animal would you be and why?
When you first said it, I thought lion. I don't know. That just was first coming to me. So rather than checking that and coming up with something else, I just like the all that hair and the big roar. You Leos should know about this. Leo lion, Leo the lion. I'm married to a Leo. Anyway, Leo
And
the
we're so
lion. I don't know,
we're
just
so
something
misunderstood.
about the pacing and the command. Um, Sleeping 16 hours a day, I don't know about that, but just a kind of commanding clarity about strength. I know that's what came to me right now.
Male or female lion?
Well, I guess because of the hair, it did look like I pictured more the male,
Male?
but
Male?
doesn't matter.
So, and me
We
being a
can be
Leo,
fluid. We can be fluid on that. It just had to do more with strength, power, and presence.
okay, good. Um, as a Leo, a lot of times our personality is misunderstood. We are loyal, we are
Oh,
strong,
yes.
um, but we are also meek and we are strategic, you know. So I like that. But I would be an elephant of all things. I got to go to Thailand a few months ago and I got to go to the elephant sanctuary. And a Native American woman gave me two spirit animals years ago. One of them was an owl and the other was an elephant. And Vincentia, I looked in that elephant's eyes and we had a conversation like no other.
Wow.
it, she looked at me and she told me a story. And she raised her trunk, and I washed her and I fed her, and it was just the most beautiful, beautiful thing. They're good parents. They are loyal. They travel in pride. Um, they're hard workers. They never forget, you know, but they will crush your butt if you get in the way. So I love that. If you were a appliance,
Can I interject something? I
absolutely.
have a niece who's getting married this weekend in Colorado, and she spent, there's a photo of her in Thailand when she spent the summer working with the elephants, and she's sitting on a fence, and she got the elephant buddy that she was washing, and his trunk is around her neck. So I was just thinking about a little
I'm
shout
telling you,
out to
if
my
you
niece
ever
and the
get an
elephant.
opportunity, it is something like no other. But then we had other people that went to the tiger preserve, and that was horrible. They
Oh,
drugged the animal, they had
oh,
him by the tail, they took all of these pictures, and I said, "You better hope that doesn't come from up under that anesthesia."
yeah,
It
that's
was
not
it was
right.
such a different experience when I looked at their photos and mine and the relationship. So again, like you say, the tiger or the cat predator, there's a certain respect, a different type of respect
That's right.
give them versus that you give someone that is a little that appears to be more meek, that appears to be more mild and more subdued, but they equal in power and wit
Yeah.
strength. And so when you're looking at individuals' brains, think about that. If you were an appliance in the kitchen, what appliance would you be?
Appliance in the kitchen. I think the blender.
I get blenders. I get a lot of blenders.
Well,
Well,
I don't know, I just like I like having a opportunity to put different things in it, like, last night we made banana smoothies because 'cause we'd eaten a lot of lunch, so we kinda had lunch for dinner, so I
mm,
put my bananas and my yogurt and my coconut milk and blueberries and a little thing of chocolate powder and I don't know, I like all the colors and, they're purple, they're blue, they're green, if it's I don't know, blender just seems like
yeah,
I like the transformation. I don't know.
I opt to be the air fryer.
That's the first thing I thought of seeing, I checked it out.
And it
See, I
was
didn't say it.
because it's new, it's innovative,
Yeah,
it's clean, it's
yeah,
crispy, still makes things juicy.
yeah,
On trend. I love it.
I do like that too.
If you could have a conversation with yourself at 25 years old, what would you say to yourself?
Oh, good one. When I was 25 is when I first, became licensed as a marriage, family, child counselor. So I just gotten my master's, and, I remember things like, not that I still didn't do this over the years, but I remember going in for my licensing, and it was of the oral after the written exam. There's an oral exam, and four people kind of ask you a million questions. And I remember spending all my time just putting on eyelash, what do you call it? Eyelash
Mascara?
mascara. Thank you. See, I don't wear it anymore. I can't remember.
I don't need
Mascara, and then changing my scarf a million times, and finally looking in the mirror and go, it doesn't matter how much makeup or whatever, what you're wearing, they're gonna, but that's where my anxiety went into how do I look and what am I gonna wear? Anyway, I still do that somewhat to this day, just to be honest. But what I would tell my 25-year-old self is, take a breath, slow down. The little things you do are just your anxiety about trying to get it perfect.
mm,
And there is no perfect. And so I would tell myself that. And even though it's me, you're saying me as an adult, I'm almost 75. I was 25, so that's a lot of years. But I just came across this quote. I have to share it from Brene Brown, who we all
mm,
admire. And she said, because I struggle with perfectionism sometimes, when you're into being perfectionistic, it's like you're driving the car. Shame is sitting shotgun
mm,
next to you. Shame and fear is in the back seat. I want, whoa, that's so helpful because if I'm like, mascara, more mascara, no, this change, no, change this outfit, dee 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 dee. What am I ashamed of? Somebody's going to judge me. Somebody's going to like it. I'm already starting going down the negativity bias, we call it. Dee dee dee, da da da. I'm all into that. And it's fear in the back seat. I won't be loved. I won't be seen. I won't be enough. See? So that I would tell my 25-year-old self that you're still going to do it. It'll be okay. But maybe, like I say, try to shorten the time about how it all looks being what's going to make it. That's just your anxiety, and it's okay. You can bind some of your anxiety by doing some of that, but realize that a real person in the world, like you were saying earlier, you're here to be human,
Exactly. But love on yourself.
but love on yourself.
On yourself. I love that. That makes me good. I'm gonna use that a lot.
Oh,
Um,
good.
if you could time travel, go back to the past, linger here in the present, project to the future, where would you land?
The thing that hits me is the day, uh, the open placement, the day we walked in, my husband and I, um, and at an open placement and stared at the door, because we were adopting a baby girl, and we'd gotten the call 24 hours before, come tomorrow at this time. You're a new parent. You have a baby daughter. So my husband and I stared at that door, and the door opened, and in came a very frightened 19-year-old girl and her boyfriend, teary. And we had this open placement where they gave us our beautiful baby daughter girl, and then she slept through the whole thing. We're all connecting and everything, and then at the end, she opened her eyes, and it had these beautiful, dark hair, blue eyes, and looked at her daddy, and it was really beautiful. So I don't know. That's what hit me right now, is that was just a very precious day.
And that's where you would end up. That's where you'd stay.
Oh, I wouldn't stay there. I didn't know there was a staying thing. I was just going for a very highlight moment of such expansive joy. But no, staying, no, I think staying nowhere. It's always about the future. So I think each stage of life is, how can I, what were the hurts and pains, but also what were the richness. And so no, because I don't want to re-experience any of the bad things. And you don't want to stay stuck in a good thing, because life's not that way. So sorry to be so practical, but I think, to me, it's always about, what's the next thing that I can also embody and embrace.
I'm like that too, reflecting on what I've done, resonating in where I am, and projecting to the future.
Beautifully said.
So I always want to go forward. I want to be in 3000. I want to see how they're wearing their hair. Are we making love by rubbing noses? What just what's the music gonna be like? I want to feel that. I want to know that.
Nice.
Because the past is truly a predictor sometimes and a dictator of what the future is. But if you're dealing with the subconscious mind, it's also an opportunity to reframe it, to reshape it. I know people that have been through therapy, as you spoke on earlier, and I love her dearly, but she's been in therapy 15 years, and you lived it for 15 years. You're still at the same place 30 years, and sometimes you're going to do that. But when are you going to evolve? When are you going to embrace what this is? Know that this is a part of who you are. Take it with you, but don't take it in your heart, put it in your purse. You know, carry it a different kind of way. And so, I wish her the best. And she's on her way to Peru to do some ayahuasca. Now, yes, girl, she's going from one extreme to another, but she says she's got to get rid of it. She's got to do it. So we're going to send her love and light, but
Love and light. She's still on the path.
absolutely.
I'd say she's still on the path.
Alternative therapies, and that's the last question I kind of want to ask you.
Okay.
Is that psychedelics are becoming popular. Um, People think of holistic, shamanic. Um, they're saying these are alternative therapies in conjunction or in contrast to what has been done before. Where do you see this possibly going? Just brushing it with your paintbrush with a broad stroke. But where do you see this going, with AI and the next generation of leaders?
I really appreciate you asking me that question, because I have a really strong opinion about it. And I thought my opinion is so strong in one way that I better be open to the other side. So I attended some webinars on psychedelics and therapists, helping people with that and assisting and all that kind of thing, and reading about it. And even some very famous people who I admire are going in that direction. And I understand that there are some people who with untreatable chronic depression, like from wars, and really felt like it's the only time they had the thing we've been talking about today, expansive, some place for joy, some movement. So while I respect all that, that's for some people, this is really a thing that has saved them. While I respect all that, I think you're asking me what the future is. I think it's going to crash and burn. And I know that's not a common popular opinion, but the reason I think that is because I started in the addictions field.
That's
And
why
I'm
I
back,
asked.
I'm old enough to be back in the Timothy Leary, drop out and do this and do that. And then all these things feel because people get addicted to substances. You could tell me all I want that it's either physically addictive, no, it's psychologically addictive, but you're addicted to a substance creating this space in you, let's say it in a positive way that kind of relaxes you and creates room for you to think of more things. You rely on a substance to do that, and you regularly do that. A colleague of me told me that she had clients that were driving and going drive through pre dosing themselves with these things before they came to therapy. And I never work with anybody under the influence. They got to be sober and come back so their head is clear. So just to be blunt, I'm against it. I don't like it. I think it's going to fail. I think you watch in the next 5 years that this big movement towards psychedelics is going to crash like it did in the 70s. And we're going to see all these people becoming addicted and it failing. And to me, it has to do somewhat with people unwilling to do the hard work of characterological transformation, of staying with their own pain and sorrow and defenses in a deep psychological examination. So that's my opinion. I know it's controversial, but I'm glad somebody asked me, because that's how I think. I think it's going to fail.
Well, Brains, and let me just kind of clear something up too. Doing ayahuasca is not, psychedelic mushrooms. Are two totally different things. You're under a doctor's care when you're doing these psychedelics, hopefully, because they're microdosing now at the dispensary and they're trying to make them legal here in California, versus where you are going through a spiritual transformation with ayahuasca, and it's a totally different thing. But it's still a mind trip. Okay.
That's
And
right.
we're old enough to know about LSD. We knew about the magic mushrooms back in the day,
That's right.
getting high. Okay. And so it's a difference from being high and getting healed. Now you have to know the difference. And in closing, Valencia, how do you want to be remembered, honey? What what do you want your legacy to be?
I would say my legacy, that maybe that I contributed something that helped some people. Like, I like to be remembered as a loving, kind of touches me, a loyal spouse, a loving mother, a loving sister. I do have 11 siblings.
Wow.
So, and we are very close. And so I can be honest, to be honest with you, I can be kind of cold Bridget and get on my to-do list. And I have to sometimes be pulled into just being and be present and feel this heart thing go back and forth, particularly with my family. So I'd like to be remembered for trying to be loving. And I also think that if nothing else, this book on communication, lots of times I give the book away for free if I'm in certain places. So I'd like to be remembered for helping people learn to communicate better.
Well, that's beautiful. Tell my brains how to get in contact with you, how to purchase a copy of the book, if you have any current offerings, any courses, how can we connect with you?
So the books are all on Amazon. So if this book, the Tilt book, oh, by the way, this one got an award for the cover. That's what that is. And I worked really a long time on trying to get Stormy Cloud, and I painted this. Anyway, I was proud of that since I like art and writing. Yeah, so they're all on, these two are on Amazon, and people can go to my website, or my email, but my website is my name. I know it's hard to spell, but it's just like Vincent, Vincent, and then IA, Schroeter, PhD.com. So that's my website, and it's got my art, and it's got my books, and some of the events that I'm doing. I'm teaching in a course right now of integrating somatic therapies that brings in experts from every field, internal family systems, somatic experience, somatosensory, all the somatic work, bioenergetics coming together. So I'm teaching that program in the fall, and it just started yesterday. So it's not open now, but yeah, that's just some of what I'm doing.
You are changing the frequency and the trajectory of many people's lives. You are rooted. You are an aggressive leader when it comes to, your soul core purpose as being a lioness. And I thank you for that. I honor you for that. And just being, who you are at your core. Brains, good
Thanks.
work. Go in, love, like, share, and subscribe. Love, like, share,
Like,
and
share,
subscribe.
and subscribe.
Follow. We're going to be posting different posts. Um, we just really want you to live your best life. It's not over till it's over. Every moment. You don't have to wait till tomorrow to change. If you have an addictive personality, you could put that cigarette down right now and say, I'm not going to do it anymore. You know, you can get the support that you need. There's somebody here to help guide you down the right road. Thank you so much for being here on the edge with me. I love you, brains, deeply and completely. I do. Have a good day.